Well, welcome everyone to the November chapter meeting of the NBEAA. We have no presenter today, but we also have an opportunity to talk about a few different kind of business activities that should be pretty interesting. So I will kind of kick it off here. Is everyone okay on the technology side? You see my screen and so forth?
Yeah.
Great. We started the recording. And as I said, we don't have a speaker. We'll jump right in. So let's do introductions. I thought it might be interesting to talk about, I'm not sure if we've covered this before. How long do you feel like you might keep your current car? My name's Sonia Carey. I'm the current NBEAA president. I've got a 2019 Tesla Model 3, and we've got a 2014 Chevy Bolt. And this has been on my mind because I kind of want to keep them as long as possible. And for a 2019 Model 3, I'm not really sure what would make it unusable at some point or unvalued by me. So forever? I'm not sure. I'll hand it off to you, Mike.
Yeah, so I think I'm trying to drive my 2011 Leaf forever. It's going to be an interesting winter, although I still only drive it like 10 miles a day, but it does get less and less range all the time. And I'm just going to try and use it as my commute to work car. And it has to go up Fountain Grove Hill though every day, and that's the one of it gets quite a lot less range than the guessometer has. Guessometer says it could go 30 miles, but it's really probably more like I don't know, 20. But yeah, I'm just trying to drive that as long as possible. I have a reservation for a Ford Lightning. I got an email since we met last that says get ready to place your order, but I still think it's probably going to be a couple months away. So that's my plans around current transportation.
That'll be a shocking transition. David Heacock?
I'm driving my 85 converted gas car, and it's still getting good mileage. It's like 100-mile range or whatever. Although I have on order an Aptera, and I'm not sure that I'll see that ever, I guess, but I think they're saying next year or 2024 or something, but we'll see if that comes about. And then I don't know what I'll do with my Avani. Keep kind of thinking about selling it sometime, but got a lot of money in it. And I don't think I'll get anywhere near what it's worth, but there might be some interested parties. So we'll see what happens.
Cecilia?
Hey, I'm Cecilia in Ukiah, and my current car, my previous car I kept for 14 years, and for this car, it's a Model 3, 2018. Plan on keeping it for the rest of my life, but I don't know if it'll last quite that long, but we'll see. And, if anything happens to it, then I think I'll probably also move on to an Aptera and see how that plays out, especially with more like user serviceability and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Bruce?
Well, I've promised myself I'm going to reduce the number of EVs and have been going through EV withdrawal. So just a quick recap. Some of you may remember that PG&E electric truck that was a Thunderstruck for a long time, and I brought up here with the hope of making it a community vehicle. So I found a guy who's very into electric stuff and a very competent boat repair guy. Be a good one to do the retrofit kits for Thunderstruck. but he has committed to buying it as soon as he gets the receipts from last month folks. And interestingly, he and one other guy up here each have 2 different brands of electric unicycles. And I caught one of them going over 35 miles an hour in the dark with some sort of headlamp on. And I thought it was my guy. And he said, oh no, mine only tops out at 35. And I just can't imagine what it'd be like hitting a deer at 30 miles an hour on a unicycle or getting a stick in your spokes. Roadster's still down at Tesla. It sounds like they're trying to rebuild a circuit board to repair that problem. I'm planning on keeping my Model 3 forever, like a few other folks have indicated, and I've been able to get a hold of a fully loaded Ford Lightning demo that will be available at the end of December. So it's going to be co-licensed with my brother. I'm going to keep it, in Oregon 51% of the time, so I don't have to deal with a sales tax up here, at least for a while. But it's a massive truck, and I got it so I could pull a boat in and out of the water, so not having to leave a boat in the water all winter and pay the mortgage fees. I think that's it. Oh, I still have the e-Golf. I think it's gonna get snapped up this week. I've just been waiting until I'm ready to make space in the garage. Oh, and one of the others, I still have Eugen Dunlap's Toyota RAV4. I think it's a 2010 that has nickel metal hydride dead batteries, but everything else works great and the upholstery is great. So I'm gonna either donate that to the school the same way the Ford Ranger truck went, or find somebody that wants to buy it for what I paid for it. So that's the story.
Sounds like a good setup. Zeno, would you like to? Oh, you're on mute. You kind of bounced to the top of my screen here. So it's just going in order.
Yeah, tennis fighting and Sebastopol. I have a Honda Insight. It's pretty old. I think it's 2014, although I'm not even sure about that. It still makes like 53 miles an hour, and I have no plans to replace it. I don't use it a lot, but I sometimes go to Santa Rosa or San Francisco and use it in that way. And yeah, the complication is like we have 2 cars, so it is not just deciding about this one car. It's kind of how to move ahead with reducing 2 cars to 1 car. What's the dynamics around that between Julia and me? I probably will buy an e-bike before I buy another car. I like to get around in town with a bicycle, and sometimes a bit of a challenge. So that's probably happening. I probably also will get a heat pump to replace my heating in the house with electric. So just in the overall picture of electrification, and I think that's going to be a priority more. But I'm interested in what's happening in e-mobility, and we're working on an event for next year, which is like a bicycle event, Ciclovia, but here in Sebastopol. But I'm also interested in including some kind of expo of electric mobility. Maybe not electric vehicles full blown, but including some maybe tri-wheel vehicles, some other new ideas in electric that is not easily visible and available in the county, just as an idea, to give people an idea of what is possible for the future. So if anybody has ideas about what should be at such an expo in terms of small electric mobility, I love to talk to you. Thank you.
Ellen, good to see you. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Ellen McKnight. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me? Okay. I've been driving a Nissan Leaf for about 10 years now. I have a 2018. It's my second Leaf. And I love it. I just wouldn't go any other way.
That's great. Do you plan to keep it forever?
As long as it's running, yeah. And as long as I'm running.
There you go. David Harris, you're on mute, but I'm glad to see that both you and Ellen got squared away on Zoom with one entry here. David, you're still on mute.
Yep. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, doing this on the phone, getting the audio to work, has been a challenge. Okay, so I couldn't hear you guys for a long time, but okay. Well, following up on the leaf topic, we got our first leaf in 2011, so we're on a fourth one that's on a lease that comes to an end in January. But I've learned by talking to them that you can extend for either 3 months or 6 months at the same payment. And I've got a lease with a payment of $88 a month. The one change is it no longer reduces your residual. The payment does not count against your capital cost. You know, I've been through this round before with extending a lease on a Toyota, a plug-in Toyota. And the issue of you have to renew your California licensing, you know, or the plate on the car for a year. You can't renew it for 6 months. So that's the added expense of extending a lease, is the fact that you're paying for a whole year, but you're only keeping the car for 6 months. I suppose you might, maybe when the 6 months are up, they might extend it another 6 months. I don't know, but I don't know whether anybody else has dealt with this. I mean, with a 2-year lease, the annual registration is still pretty high, somewhere in the 400 range. But I have looked at the new lease, and wow, they've put in a broad range. You know, there's a dual motor Leaf now. Which doesn't have the longest range. I mean, the longest range in the new ones is 304 miles.
Wow.
And so that's a different Leaf
Yeah.
than the earlier model. So and even in this 2020, it's an SV, not an SL. But the lane keep and those things were big changes from the earlier models. So I mean, you could get tempted, Ellen, to get a newer Leaf just because the safety features keep getting better.
That's a good point around all of our cars. You know, if safety features and automatic emergency braking and things like that improve significantly, you kind of might be tempted. Yeah. Brad?
Yeah, hi, I'm Brad. I live in Santa Rosa. I mostly get around by foot, bus, or my car these days. I don't bike as much as I used to, except on the Santa Rosa Taco Tuesday rides. I drive a 2004 Honda Civic Hybrid that I'm hoping to not have to replace until at least January of 2024, which is when the Inflation Reduction Act incentives start applying to used electric vehicles that you can buy from a dealer. So I was actually hoping that John Palmerly will be on the call later, or someone from Thunderstruck, so I could ask them if they knew of anyone who was getting into that business in the North Bay, or try to get them to if they didn't know of anyone. So, anyways.
Yeah, that's a really great strategy. I appreciate that. Like, you know, a lot of people are used to just kind of getting a 4-year-old car or something like that, and then if you add in the Inflation Reduction Act, you know, used rebate, it gets really interesting. And those 200-mile Nissan Leafs will be out there and all sorts of good stuff. I mean, you know, some pretty good used cars coming up. So we have a person called iPhone. would you like to introduce yourself? I don't know who this person is.
It looks like they might not have audio.
Oh, gotcha. If they don't have audio, I don't know how enjoyable this meeting will be. So it might be one of the previous people. Because our links are public, I think I can just remove this person and then they can join if they want to. There we go. Great. So just moving into chapter business. All right. So I thought it might, we're all old timers here, but I thought it might be helpful to just have an intro to the NBEAA slide that includes the mission. The Electric Vehicle Association educates and advocates for the rapid adoption of electric vehicles. And, that's the parent organization's mission. And, we could talk about whether our mission is slightly different going forward. We have a website at nbeaa.org. We have the NBEAA Club forum and email with about 150 people on it. And we have a Google Group site for NBEAA Club if we want to have discussion board type things. And that could be a future goal, to try to have discussion right on our site, that sort of thing. But that's us. And then there's something that some of us might have gotten in our emails about a week ago. I think I got my email about a week ago asking me to vote for board of directors. And I've done this. I think I've voted for the past 3 times in a row, and I've read people's descriptions, and it's really interesting to read the descriptions about the folks who want to be on the board of directors and what they might like to accomplish. I'm sorry, I don't hear a whole lot about what they do after that. But I hope to participate a little more to understand what's going on over there. The email could have gone into your spam, so I wanted to mention it today. If you are an active member, the email goes from Election Buddy, and it's a link. And you still have time to vote until December 2nd. So you also have time to activate a membership that has lapsed and then vote. So they wanted to kind of encourage everyone to keep memberships active. And so they asked each chapter if they'd like to, let me skip this for a second. Where did I put it? They asked each chapter if they'd like to, no, well, I'm going to speak to something that I have on a slide that's further back. I put it in here somewhere. We'll run into it. There's an Aptera reservation giveaway as part of the active membership drive. So one of us already has an Aptera reservation, but the reservations themselves cost $100. So among all of us active members, we are welcome to put together a drawing from those who are interested to have a free reservation for an Aptera. So I think that's probably kind of there's no downside to having a free reservation. And I thought personally, I would just encourage people who are potentially interested to consider volunteering themselves for one of the 2 slots. But if there's more than 2 people, we could also do a drawing. And in addition to the people here on our meeting today, I thought I should put it in the recap email and let any other active members know so that they could, email me, and we could also include them. So does anyone have an interest in a free Aptera reservation?
Yeah, I would be interested, sure.
Okay. So we've
Yeah,
got
and I would, I mean,
and David Harris. Okay. So what I think I'll do is if you guys agree, I will put it in the recap email that if you're interested in a free Aptera reservation and you have to be an active member, you know, you can let me know. And I was going to put like a date of the Friday before the weekend before Thanksgiving. I think that date is the 17th, because I'm going to be traveling and I'd like to handle it on that weekend before I travel. So that gives me plenty of time to get the names of the people who really want these reservations over to the parent organization by December 1. That's their deadline for me to get that over to them. So
You have to get down to 2. I mean, am I understanding this?
Yeah, we have to do a drawing of sorts.
Right.
Yeah.
So they gave 2 to every chapter that is registered. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, we're relatively small, and I know I'm pretty sure that my membership has lapsed, and so this is the incentive to get us to pay. What is it? Is it a senior member $25 or something like that? What is the?
It's $35, David.
Okay.
$35.
Still not big money, but
less than the 100.
But our number of actives is probably down, right?
Yeah. There's only so many active members. And
well, active, I mean, some of us are active, but we just have not renewed our membership at the national level. That I would not use that word active. It's more like currently subscribed, non-lapsed members.
There you go. So yeah, this is the encouragement to keep your license up with the EBA. If you have an interest, David, follow up and I'll put you in the drawing. I assume I'll have like a third or a fourth person, and so there may be a drawing.
Right.
You will have a high percentage chance of winning.
Right, but let's you know, make the point is what we're trying to do is get more of us
more memberships
current, more of us current with the national.
Yeah.
Because this club's been around a long time, and the national is sometimes kind of hard to keep up with, to understand what's going on with them. So I mean, they changed their membership system. They were using an outside provider. I don't know who they're using now, but it used to be kind of you had to jump through some hoops to figure out how to renew your membership. Now you've got the link right there, MyEVA/memberships, right? And that should take us right straight to a place.
Yeah, it takes you to that old page that you might recognize. It's a little strange, but you can figure it out from there. myeva.org/memberships. And it's pretty straightforward. And if you've been a member in the past, it has a workflow for you to put in a couple of pieces of info and link up to your previous account.
Right. Well, I think the last time I renewed, I actually got a physical card from them that had a hole in it so you could wear it around your neck. I mean, we could be wearing our cards to virtual, or when we actually have a non-virtual meeting, a real meeting, we could wear name tags.
Well, and if you want to be really supportive, you could purchase some of their fine swag from their site. Cecilia has like a really sharp looking polo shirt from the NBEAA or from the EBA. You have it? Nice. So you can have this sharp, it's a black polo with the logo in the corner. You know, if you're out on the
previous version, but they have a newer one now.
Oh, they have a newer one? Okay.
It says EVA instead of EAA.
Oh, gotcha. The new name. David Heacock, you had your hand up?
Do you have any idea about the background of how they decided on doing this thing with Aptera?
Yeah, Aptera stepped forward and offered it. So Aptera stepped forward and offered 2 reservations for each chapter. And you can imagine there are chapters smaller than ours. So that's a lot of reservations with, $100 is kind of like a nominal way of showing more sincere interest in getting on the reservation list. And maybe they're fine with waiving that for people who are early adopters and really interested, and it gives them a chance to talk about it. That was my understanding.
There's people out there that are called ambassadors, and you can get I happen to be one, but you can get a $30 reduction on the reservation. So it's like $70 if you just, I have a card with one of those things you scan, and you can go to that and they give you, so a $30.
Yes.
So that's another method, but it's going to be, I just find that interesting because they got something like 30-something thousand reservations now, but I followed Archimoto for years, and I'm not sure when they're going to come out with this vehicle. If they do, it's going to be a real game changer, but
Yeah.
that's interesting. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I wonder if between all of the companies that have offered kind of reservation holding, if there's kind of some insider understanding of how fast you burn through your reservation list with people who just kind of pass, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But 30,000 sounds like a big number. Zeno, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I wonder whether you have any endorsement in the election for board of directors for the national.
Oh yeah, thanks for asking. I read through each of them and came to some, mild conclusions about people's areas of interest. And I also like to vote for women when possible to try to kind of, and I think there was some diversity options there that I found interesting. There was one person that was kind of incumbent, and I'm sorry to say, I really did not dig a level deeper. I haven't heard, what these folks have been up to during the course of their times, but there is some good information about, their backgrounds, the regions they come from. Some people seem to use it I infer that some people use it as an opportunity to be a little bit more of a visible leader because they have a business stake. They're selling solar or charging consulting, things like that.
Yeah. The other thing is I noticed they also they're asking for nominations for the award. And I wonder in the future whether that could be a club activity, that if we it's a way to think about our movement, if we can identify somebody that we can nominate for the award every year.
In a community. That's a great idea because it could create some visibility out of our community. Yeah. Did you notice any deadline on that, Zeno? It might have passed this time, or?
Yeah, I'm looking at the award. The deadline, I'll put it in the chat, so I need to look it up.
Thank you. So I did have a slide on some of the detail around the Aptera. If we hit on that, I'll see if I missed something. But we also had some movement on finances. So finally got back from the parent organization's treasurer, and the treasurer indeed confirmed that we had all the money that we anticipated that we had. And we have $6,345 as of September. I'd like to explain that number a little bit. Maybe Mike can help, but there was a time when there was a benefit at the Rialto Cinema with a movie in it, and we were one of 2 or 3 nonprofits that received the proceeds from that benefit. And then that benefits proceeds went into our parent chapter's coffers, because this is a way to keep money. So you'll see here that we made $65 in program sales and fees over the course of the last year. So if we had not had that money, we would expect to make about $65 a year. That doesn't cover our Zoom fee of $150 a year that is going to be removed from this amount. So I just wanted people to understand that there was some confusion in the interim when I was asking about this money, where people said, why do you think you have money? You know, and I was like, well, I was told we did in the past. And it's kind of highly unusual, probably, that this money was sent to the parent organization to be kept for us, and there it is. And so if we had an expense, we could use this money, but there might be other things that we might want to do with it if we don't seem to have yearly expenses. So we might want to kind of think about this as how much do we need a year? So I've got Zeno and David. Zeno, why don't you start?
You have a question, or?
I saw your hand up, and it might have been from before.
I'm not sure what I should do.
Okay, I'll go ahead then. I
Okay.
mean, this statement would suggest that we had no membership renewals in that period, right? I mean, this is supposed to be everything that happened to our account between January and September, right?
No, actually, it says 5120 membership fees, $65, and then it totals out to 5,100 program sales and fees. Now, if a member renews,
Well, all we can see is net income $65, and it says January to September. So
Right.
the only thing we got was from the Rialto, or from that theater promotion you're talking about, and we had no membership renewals, no expenses.
no, we had membership renewals. So
Okay, how come they don't show then?
The way I read this is that the 5,120 membership fees, we received $65 worth of those membership fees, and we don't get all of our membership fees down to the chapter level. The majority of those membership fees, perhaps 100% of the $35, goes to the parent organization, and an overage of, if anyone ever wants to donate a little extra, like if you want to donate $40 instead of $35, we'd be getting $5 at the chapter.
Right. Well, then that shows no expenses. Did we not spend any money in the period from January to September?
We spent no money over the last 2 years.
Okay.
We have submitted no expenses. Individuals in the organization collected cash for donuts for a while and bought donuts with the cash, bought stuff that we needed. No one submitted anything for a couple of years, I don't think.
Okay,
Now,
so there must be a membership report that you could also pull up off of there, right? As to how many current paid members. So, rather than talk about it right now, I mean, I think maybe next month we should review what our level of participation is at the national, our memberships, et cetera.
Well, we can talk about that. How does everyone feel about the officers knowing who remains actively up to date versus the club attendees during a presentation? I feel like that's...
Well, you don't have to put names
Oh,
out, but the numbers. I mean, I'm just suggesting, let's know how many, because right now, I mean, at 9 participants, I'm a little concerned that we're starting to lose the touch here. And 2, I think those of us who are active, I feel a little bit delinquent in not having kept my membership up. And I'm not asking you to reveal my name as a lapsed member. I'm just, if we had the numbers, we probably have had 30 or 40 people that at some point have been a member of the national. How many do we have now,
Great question. I'd be happy to look that up and report the active members as a sum.
Because we don't have any way that we're keeping track of how many people we consider to be our constituents of North Bay, right? And
well, I can tell you what we do track. obviously we have attendance, and we've often said, active participation through attendance at the meetings is possibly more important than,
Yes.
being a chapter member.
Right.
The chapter membership does fund some things that we appreciate, including the liability insurance to do events in the future. And we have maintained 150 email addresses, and we do have some pent-up demand for participation in person. And so I share your concern that we have light attendance, but I think that there's a little bit of pent-up demand and opportunity to resolve that as well.
Right. Well, and let me add one other thing that I remember telling Alan about 5 years ago. I said the job description for chapter president should be grooming a successor, because we've come to this point various times when we've had excellent leadership, but it's time for them to take on some other priorities in their life, and there's nobody prepared to step up. Now, we haven't had that scenario for a while. In fact, we even had 2 people willing to be vice president. So, but keep in mind that the day will come, Sonia, when you want a successor. And I will reiterate that from my point of view, one of the jobs of the current chair is to be thinking about their successor.
Thank you. Yeah. I think we're in pretty good shape.
Yeah. But it would be a shame for us to reach a point where we didn't have enough people engaged to continue, because we are one of the older local chapters nationally, I think.
Well, I think you're setting me up for the next slides. I have some ideas for breathing some new life into our meetings and our process.
Just before we do that, I will report we do have 30 active EVA members.
30. Thank you. So I'm just going to go in order of the slides real quick to kind of get to the meat of the matter here. Obviously, this presentation gets put together through participation into the NBEAA team channel. So feel free to add events that you hear about. We are increasingly having events and news that you think is really helpful, particularly local news or obscure news that are kind of hard for us to kind of find on our own. We really appreciate it. And then communicating online, we've got a discussion Google group and also an officers Google group that you might find helpful, as well as the press and web versions that go to the right parties. Previous meeting information is available at nbeaa.org. And we don't have anyone for December in terms of a topic, but we do have a couple little pieces that Jerry had volunteered. So I think Jerry's traveling this month, and we might have an opportunity to kind of revisit his visit and Caleb's visit to the expo in San Diego, which we didn't really cover that well, and then some battery stuff that he was interested in. So I will follow with Jerry, or if anyone has something else, please let me know. Okay, so this is my opportunity to say, hey, we might be able to breathe some new life into our organization by meeting in a public space that is really kind of first class. So the backstory here is that we all had a fondness for Thunderstruck Motors and meeting there in the past, but they're in kind of an unusual situation where the parts are literally all over the floor. While that could get resolved over time, it felt like it might be more appropriate to move quicker and think about Sonoma Clean Power. And Zena had brought this up a couple months ago. So I walked down to Sonoma Clean Power and talked to their new events manager, who is available there on Saturdays. And we had a really good conversation, and we walked back and looked at their employee parking lot and other things and so forth. So basically, the story is that they have a publicly available space in the back of their room, their retail space, where they show you, information about heat pumps and water heaters and things like that. And in the back of that space, is a very large conference room, and they have a high quality HEPA filter that filters the air. They have free coffee that they offer, and they offer the ability for you to meet in that room if they approve you and they approve your purpose, and that your purpose is not partisan in some way or against the alignment of promoting the use of green energy. They'll just offer it for free and support you in your having your meeting there. The RCPA meets there, other organizations and so forth. So
That's actually a government entity, the RCPA, right?
Yeah.
Regional Climate Protection Authority. So
But yeah, but they don't have anything to do with it.
sure. No,
Organization too. Yeah.
That's completely consistent. But I in the past, they've always met in, their office space, I thought. But so that's just news, the fact that the government entity is using that as well.
Yeah, and I don't have the detail of if it was a public event or something that made it more appropriate to be there. I'm not sure. So they have all the audio visual support as well. So they've got a laptop that drives their large screen, and Meeting Owl if you want a Meeting Owl and things like that. And they have a person
which would be yeah. Why don't you explain that? The Meeting Owl would allow for a hybrid meeting. It would show everybody in the room with the 360 degree camera, and then anybody remote would be on their own camera.
Exactly. Yeah. And so the idea here is that, we have a specific goal in mind, and that would definitely be to be hybrid. The thing that they offer in terms of sponsorship is that they would like to provide a 1-minute intro in return for using the space.
Sure.
They want people to know about Sonoma Clean Power. They want people to know about what they do there. And I said, well, can you make it interesting for us? Because we're the same people. If we meet on a regular basis, can you just tell us what's going on or something like that?
Yeah.
Parking is a concern. It's downtown Santa Rosa on 4th Street.
Whoa. Hey, if we meet on a Saturday, they have a parking lot for their employees a block away that has like 20 level 2 chargers, which have padlocks on them. So I just bring to your attention, and I talked to somebody in their program staff this week, because I had read in their website that they keep those live 24/7, so that if a staff member comes in on off hours, they can charge for free. But they put padlocks on them, so you have to be somebody with a key. So that would be the other piece of this. Is we'll come, but for let's make those chargers available to our membership on the days of our meeting. Almost all of us are going to be customers of Sonoma Clean Power. So
that's an employee lot, and we were not invited to use it, but I'd be happy to ask the question.
Right. On Saturday, that employee lot is going to be empty. Maybe so we get some of them. I was really surprised to see how many staff they now have. The staff at Sonoma Clean Power has really grown. I mean, there's a lot of professional level staff there now. I mean, I have gone to that. As you know, it's the place to look at heat pumps. You brought that topic up, and I'm still trying to get to that topic also. And as it relates to EVs, they had the promo of providing the level 2 chargers to members, but they were aware of abuse of people getting EV chargers and then selling them. I don't know anybody who personally did that, but that is one of the topics that's generally known by the staff, is that, well, EV people abused the free level 2 chargers. And I'd like to improve our image by talking to them about the fact that I appreciate the level 2 charger, and they shouldn't hold a few cases of people getting them and selling them on eBay or something against all of us.
Okay. So what I'm hearing you say is that you'd like me to ask if they will allow us to park in their private employee parking lot on the Saturday, and if they will open the chargers to us.
Right, right. I mean, if I just think it's worth an ask.
All right. Yeah,
I'm
it's,
not sure that this is the same location, actually. I don't
No,
think
they're a block apart.
they are a block apart. So if you can picture on 4th Street, the Advanced Energy Center, if you go out their back door, and then like,
Cross
20
Fifth
more
Street.
feet across Fifth
yeah.
Street, it's just kind
Yeah,
of,
I didn't know
yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's pretty close. So now that Sonoma Clean Power has moved over to East Street and 5th Street in that little section, they've got an employee lot that's awfully close. I will tell you that it was rather empty on a Saturday, so there was room. And I was speaking with someone who's rather new, who would appropriately not offer me their private employee lot up front. So I'd be happy to ask. So let me go into a little bit more, and then I'll come to more questions from everybody. I just wanted to also cover COVID and the hybrid meeting information. So in terms of COVID, we've got the California Department of Public Health's guidance for wearing masks. We're at the low community level right now. If we go to medium community level, we can find the guidance for that. But right now, in the state of California, people can wear a mask based on their personal preference, informed by their own personal level of risk. But there's a strong recommendation for wearing masks. But we have a goal, and our goal is to hold meetings with the option of drinking coffee and eating donuts, and the opportunity to clearly present over Zoom. So it might be similar to those of us who are willing to eat in restaurants where, people can wear masks unless they're eating and drinking and presenting, that sort of thing. But, let me know if you think that we should have more policy and procedure around this. I was hoping that we would probably have some kind of additional guidance from Sonoma Clean Power, because we're used to their facility, but we could keep it simple otherwise. Certainly if you're not vaccinated or you've been exposed, you could use the Zoom option too, and that would be something that would work well.
Yeah, so I'm using this space for another organization, Sebastian, or the Sonoma County Bicycle Coalition. It's meeting monthly there, and right now we're not using mask. Maybe a 1 or 2 person in the room does that, but it's up to you.
Optionally. Okay, great. Thanks for that, Zeno. I wasn't sure if they were going to give us some guidance. When I went, no one was masked. Here's Sean Dalton. He's a new employee. He's their events manager. He's got like a month under his belt now, I think. You can see in this top image that they have a space where they, have a little kitchen with induction stoves. They've got different kind of layouts and setups with different things that you can check out. And then they've got this kind of back room here with the opportunity, as I don't know if you've ever pulled the glass doors shut. I think there's some doors that you can shut. You don't have to. It has a really large conference table, so you could fit 25 people in there, and a really large screen.
Right, and I can see you in the picture there on the screen right there. It's showing you taking a picture of Sean.
Yeah,
right?
and now I'm on Zoom. It's very meta right now.
Right.
Yeah.
You're around the world today.
Exactly. So if they help us with the AV, that's a little different from what we'd originally thought we would need. And there are some kind of funky things about that. I think one of them would be that there's kind of a transition lag if you're going to kind of switch screens from showing a slide, just slides, to showing people and things like that. And so I haven't quite wrapped my head around the best way. And Zeno, maybe you have some ideas, but I kind of felt like maybe we could have our subcommittee talk and include Jerry, because he's got a lot of great ideas around this. And we could kind of think about what we'd want to try first, second, and third, and iterate on it. Do you have any thoughts on that, Zeno?
Well, related. So I think Gary was concerned about the feel of the earlier meeting when you met at Thunderstruck, and you kind of you were in a space that smelled like electric vehicles, right? And that had and so we probably want to think a little bit more about this. How can we bring that that feel to a meeting at Sonoma Clean Power? So I think this idea of trying to use their charging parking lot is great, and we could over time maybe build that out a bit and make that more. Maybe after an in-room meeting, we could go out there and
Indoor,
have
outdoor.
some like interaction with something, electric vehicle type thing. So that's one kind of thing that if I talk to Gary about it, he was always a little bit hesitant to go this direction, I think. And he is still in Europe, so he cannot speak for himself, but yeah, so that was one thing that kind of comes to mind.
Yeah, that's a great idea, having an outdoor portion of the meeting. Let me see if I've covered I think I've covered everything that's kind of the detail. So I wanted to back up and ask you all to provide me with feedback.
Brad had a question about us being able to record the Zoom and share it on YouTube. It sounds like it'll still be our Zoom, but is there any restriction on us sharing videos from their space?
I guess I could ask. He didn't seem to see. I told him what we were up to, and I told him about the YouTube channel itself, etc. And I think everything sounded like a win to them. Also, Sean talked to the director.
To the director of the Advanced Energy Center, or to the CEO of Sonoma Clean Power?
I think it was the director of the Advanced Energy Center.
Right. That's David Harvey. Right.
Okay. So they want us, they're interested in us.
Well, they're a public entity and a quasi public entity anyway. I mean, they came into existence by the vote of all of the 9 government entities in Sonoma County, and now Mendocino County. So
yeah, they have certain requirements related to not being particularly endorsing of others. And so I asked him the question about dissent. I said, if people have strong feelings and they express those strong feelings in a meeting, they have dissent about things like, do you guys have issues? And he's like, nah, we don't have issues for that.
Well, yeah, they have to hold public meetings and allow for public comment. I mean, anything we would say would fall into that category of public comment.
Yeah, I think so. David Heacock, I wasn't sure if you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to second the finding out whether the chargers would be available. I'd be pushing my range the good thing about going to Thunderstruck was I was able to plug in during the meeting, and I'd have plenty of miles to drive back. And it sounds like Mike at this point might even have an issue with his Nissan Leaf. So
Mike could walk.
It's flat. It's flat from my house to downtown.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, and there's plenty of chargers. There's an Electrify America bank up to 350 kilowatt. A few blocks away on the in Santa Rosa Plaza Shopping Center. There's plenty of places to charge, and then there's level 2s at City Hall and various places downtown. There's plenty of places to park, but if we could get a free from Sonoma Clean Power, for a monthly meeting, I don't know whether that's going to change anybody's motivation to come, but certainly, Dave, it would allow you to be ready to go home. And if they don't exceed to that, it's 2 or 3 blocks to a public chargers, so no problem.
So they have J1772 level 2s. Yeah, okay.
That's what they have for
And
free.
that's what we have in the city garages too. Yeah.
Right. And there you're going to pay something. I mean, I think the city's put in the $2.99 session fee.
Yeah.
But
So
a little farther, if you can get to Electrify America's, latest generation chargers.
yeah. I guess my question would be, would it be a non-starter if they had some legal reason or policy reason to not open their parking space?
No, that's not a non-starter. It's just a bonus. If they won't let us charge, fine. But if you get a no on that, I'll be surprised. But
so I appreciate that, David. I'll check on that. I think that if I do get a no on that,
that shouldn't stop us. That shouldn't stop us. Go right.
We could talk a little further. Representing Tor here, he sent me a couple of questions, and one of his questions was, how can we create a lot of visibility that we're having a meeting? And one of the ways that I thought is that if you arrive at 9:45 for our meeting, you will get a metered parking space on 4th Street in front of Russian River Brewing Company. And if enough of us pull in and, park there and also congregate afterward, it creates a little bit of buzz. So, that's going to cost everyone something because you gotta feed the meter. And then the other thing is, if you wanted a free spot, I know that there are a couple free neighborhood spots around that area that are within 2 blocks. You're on mute again, David.
Yeah, I'm on my phone, and if I flip my thumb to the wrong place, I hit the mute button. No, there's plenty of parking down there. Just go a little bit east, and you're behind the junior high school, and even on the weekend, I think that Chase Bank parking lot is free. So, parking's not going to be a problem down there. And
yeah, well, there's visible paid parking, and then there's easy free parking. But some of the people who might want to come for the first time might like a little bit of extra info on that, but we can cover that when we get there. One last thing on the AV, just so I'm thorough, is that we have the option of meeting in the round in the conference table area, or we could meet, more formal way where someone stands at the podium that you see Sean at here and presents to the table. So when we do talk about AV, I think that the AV is a little different for each. The meeting owl can go around the table, or the in-house cameras can catch you at the podium. But one's a little more formal and suggests that there's one presenter and everyone's at a distance at the table. I think even though we've never met in the round at Thunderstruck, we might want to think about meeting in the round going forward, because it makes more sense if we have just a dozen participants or something like that. So just something to think about.
Yeah, the table is modular, so you can actually rearrange the elements. And when we meet with the Bicycle Coalition, we have like not one table, but like more a circle of tables. So you can actually
With the hole in the middle.
Play around with how you set it up.
Yeah, or a U shape or something. Okay. Yeah. So in terms of trying to build a little bit of energy for, the meeting cadence and so forth, I appreciate that we want to have kind of the feel that we've had in the past, et cetera. But I'd just like to point out that this is a public space. It's downtown in Santa Rosa, and this might give us an opportunity to bring in people that we haven't had. I've had a few people tell me that they really want to meet in person. So think about that and think about how we might, kind of build on, interest by using this space as well. All
So
right.
I would raise the question, we have at other times done, one-off meetings at other locations other than Thunderstruck. And that would still
Right.
be an option. I mean, the picture, we met at the Nissan dealership years ago. And, with all these new models coming out, having meetings at dealerships when the program can be the look at the new model that they've got, or models. I mean, we're going to be seeing scenarios where some of the brands are going to have 2 or 3 models coming out per year. But I don't want to get us sidetracked off of the main topic here of Sonoma Clean Power as a continuing venue for hybrid meetings.
So it sounds like everyone's pretty comfortable with the idea of moving forward with this. And so I forgot to ask the very important question, like, is everyone okay with me kind of like trying to set it up for December? Like, let's just try it out kind of thing? Cool.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. Cecilia, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm hoping, like, would you be willing to come every other time or something like that?
I'll be masked the whole time, but potentially.
Okay, cool. So I think if we get this in place, it doesn't mean we can't change our minds over time or do outdoor meetings also. I mean, with COVID precautions and things like that, maybe there are times when it gets warmer that we might want to meet outdoors. Does anyone remember meeting at SolarWorks one time and we kind of played with a wireless charging on a Nissan Leaf? I just remembered that one as well.
Yeah, we had an inductive charger demo once at where Switch Vehicles was
Right.
for a while, and while Alan was preparing for his around the world trip, had a great turnout. Mark Soylan did a presentation that could work outdoors. He could just he also did some talking inside, but outdoors, looking at their facility and their solar field.
Right.
There's the place, I forget what it's called now, but Willard McDonald's solar eye place, and
he bought it back. I think Willard bought his company back.
oh, really?
Yeah. From Vivint Solar, right? Yeah. So I'll just move forward in our meeting. We'll cover news next, but thanks so much for all of that. So we've been kind of revisiting our chapter goals, and I'm going to give us a credit for, making hybrid meetings a reality in 2022 if we meet in December, and also, credit for participating in events if we can kind of like make it a slightly visible event. And then that just puts us in position to kind of prep for 2023 and think about the Apple Blossom Parade, think about Earth Day, and see where those dates fall on the calendar, that sort of thing. Questions from David or Zeno? You have your hands up, and I'm not sure if it's on this.
Well, I could save this comment, but in fact, behind those 20 or so chargers that Sonoma Clean Power has, there's a picnic table, a big oak tree. There's an outside space up there by their office. If you wanted to do an outdoor meeting when the weather's right, I'm sure they haven't set it up with the AV stuff, but Sonoma Clean Power actually has space that you could do an outdoor meeting.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. EV events and offers.
So
I see.
I had
Oh, go ahead, Zeno.
Yeah, so I wonder whether we have any data about how many people visit the website. And then in relation to that, the National has a Facebook page and I think an Instagram page. And I think it would be certainly a help to get more people in if we push out the name of the, rather than just be on a website, because that tends to easily be overlooked. So it's, how do we make people find the website, find the organization through pushing out? That's kind of my question.
Yeah, you know, right now the big push that we use is our email list. But you know, if someone wants to piggyback on the website and become a Facebook ambassador or an Instagram ambassador, it wouldn't be too hard to set some of that stuff up. I think the hardest part is the main maintenance of it over time, you know, and posting to the pages, etc. So you know, if anyone wants to volunteer, I'd be happy to kind of support them in getting that rolling for Facebook and Instagram.
I've been thinking about a Facebook page.
Do you have an interest like in the maintenance part or just the setup?
Well, I do spend a lot of time on Facebook, so it's like I'm there so I can, like, you know, do that sort of thing.
Cool. Oh, that would be neat. I was wondering how automated we could make it too. You know, like if you can definitely piggyback off of other tasks we perform, like posting to YouTube and things like that. Great. Can you speak to
Another thing about this, so we have these like presentation of news items here on in the monthly meeting.
Mhm.
And I wonder whether we can make the links accessible, and maybe some of them during the meeting to intensify
Yeah.
the conversation.
I've been thinking about that too, you know, like we'll have to brainstorm how to do that because it's too obscure inside the presentation. Either we can PDF it in advance and give everyone kind of active, you know, maybe post the PDF of it early.
Well, why not put it in the chat while the presentation is going on?
So someone would have access to the slides, copy and paste during the meeting.
Yeah, right.
If someone wants to volunteer to do that in the background, it's as simple as linking directly to the slide deck, which is publicly available, and then harvesting all the links as we go through it and posting to chat.
Yeah, that you don't need to be all the links, but we can
some of the key ones.
Each slide deck, you could kind of indicate which links should be pushed out on in the chat. And I could be part of that effort and try to see how that works as an experiment.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's hard for the presenter to be involved, but it's
Right.
pretty straightforward. I'd be happy to give you a little background, or, you know, we could start by just kind of posting the slide deck in the chat so that everyone has that. Those are nice ideas. They remind me of a couple things. You mentioned site traffic. I think we need to install Google Analytics onto our site to have the traffic info. And Cecilia, do you have an update on that?
Oh, I don't think I have an update on that, but
Okay.
that is a good reminder.
So that's something that we could do in the future, but we do kind of as a same indication of statistics, we do have the number of views that each of our presentations receives in the YouTube channel. And if you go to the YouTube channel, it's publicly displayed, you know, how many times someone has viewed each presentation. I've been kind of curious about excerpting our presentations and posting things that are very short and sweet about a certain thing. Maybe something that happens within the meeting that's just kind of an edit of the meeting, or something that's kind of recorded specifically. And, you know, a 2-minute video is often viewed much more frequently than 120-minute video. So that gives you, you know, we all have appetite for information like that. And that gives you a little bit of an indicator of what's going on. Certainly some kind of effort to put Google Analytics on the website and see what's going on with the website
I
as well.
do have an update on that, and it is actually installed. I totally forgot that happened.
I knew we'd talked about it. Okay, so then the next question is like going and looking at the data a little bit. Maybe we can do that for December. And report back to you all on the website traffic.
Well, your idea of doing some short videos, I mean, if you've got a short video, then that's something to put on social media, Facebook page, etc. You know, it would, because it's a lot different to have a link right there that you can watch a short video versus having to watch our whole 2-hour meeting or find your way through it.
Yep. Yeah. And the other thing would be kind of fun is building some images for Facebook and giving them to Cecilia so she has some fun images to post as well. And I suppose what we could say is if you ever gave Cecilia a photo, I bet she could use that kind of stuff. Would that be correct, Cecilia? Like if you had kind of an image of a car or
Yeah.
and anything fresh, stuff like that. So those might be small things that we could make some progress on.
It might be cool to, if you're sharing an image of a car, if it's like, you know, if it's you talk and not something that came from like a website. If you want to do like a little profile, like this is my car, you know, this is how, you know.
Yeah, personal and local
experience. Yeah.
A picture of. Yeah, that'd be great. Super. So we talked about the Aptera event offer, and I'm finally getting to the screen here. Here's a little bit of information about the Aptera. You can build your own on the site as you reserve it and pick your color. And you know, you can see the battery range, acceleration, kilowatts used there, and the daily solar charge capacity. I mean, how exciting is that? So to put some structure around this so that we can kind of make our deadline, just send an email to NBEAA officers by Friday, November 18, and that way Cecilia and Jerry and Bruce and I can like kind of see with visibility who wants to get their name in there, and then we'll figure out a safe way to draw names. Maybe I'll hop on a Zoom with Cecilia or Jerry if you're free, and then we can kind of draw names in front of each other if you want by November 20. And that'll give us that weekend to kind of get that all cleared up and out to.
I want to do a screenshot.
Okay. All right. So stepping into the news, we're in the news. So the EVA, you know, has a blog on a regular basis, and the EVA, David, you're drawing on our screen. The EVA wrote an article about us. They had a journalist talk to me and Cecilia and Jerry, and they wrote a little article about our chapter and what makes us unique. And they decided to focus on our unique chapter superpower, helping others confirm the right EV fit for them. The journalist was kind of interested in the fact that some of us have talked to others about purchasing used EVs or the pros and cons of different types of cars. And he kind of created a story around it, and it's at EVA, myeva.org, so you can go read it. There might be some minor inaccuracies in it. We all had a chance to do a little bit of an edit and kind of direct him as best possible, but it was a nice piece and a nice effort. Anything more on that, Cecilia, that you want to add?
Nothing more to add.
Okay. So, new stuff. I thought it might be helpful to kind of cover the Inflation Reduction Act. You know, I noticed that the president in his last news conference said, you know, some of these great things that the Democrats have voted in just aren't here yet. And you don't know about them yet because they're not here yet. And this would be part of that. The home retrofit portion of the Inflation Reduction Act was covered in a press release and kind of an event that Senators Heinrich and Smith held a couple of months ago, but I just hadn't put this into a slide deck yet. So when the senators spoke, they talked about how they had kind of structured this portion of the legislation and how there are rebates that will allow up to $14,000 per household and certain dollar amounts for different types of things. And I think we did talk a little bit about how there's money for your breaker box upgrade. If you need a breaker box upgrade, there's money for kind of moving the wiring from your breaker box to a location to get your wiring in position for a mini split, for instance, and stuff like that. So I thought I'd just kind of pop this out here. My understanding is that there would be programs in each state that would kind of spin up to support getting these rebates, and that these programs are not in place, and that this stuff is not available until January of 2024, I think. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a good planning opportunity to understand that these pieces are going to be put into place. So coming soon. The other thing that's coming soon is that there were some awards announced for investment money through the Inflation Reduction Act. So on October 18, they announced an award of $2.8 billion to US companies in 12 states for lithium mining and battery manufacturing. And so a lot of existing lithium, well, let's say existing mining companies were awarded, you know, this money to move forward. And then also existing battery companies were awarded this money to move forward. On October 26, they also awarded another $1.1 billion in individual grants for school buses. So the school buses were in all 50 states, and that means the procurement process is going to be starting. David, did you have a question or comment?
But our city bus, Santa Rosa City Bus, now has some electric buses that, and they could be a program for us also.
Yeah, I think that we covered that last month, that the city buses procurement process was underway, but they haven't gotten all of them yet, right?
Not all of them, but
They've gotten a couple.
Back in the day, they would be willing to bring a bus to a school and show it to kids. So I think they'd be willing to bring a bus to a meeting for us.
Oh, gotcha. As a meeting idea. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Right. And they actually would have a space at their facility that we could do a meeting. Although, you know, Saturday isn't normally a day that they would operate, but
yeah. So this next one is something that Zeno submitted a couple months ago that we didn't really cover. There was a piece in the San Jose Mercury News, EVs are still rich people stuff. And it was kind of put out there in a little bit of a point counterpoint or question and answer format. And it's always good to look at some of these things, because I think this is the attitude and concern right now, that EVs are just for rich people. there's a substantial upfront cost of buying one, and the same people who, can get one, probably are homeowners as well and can plug in at home, etc. And I think that the answer that was provided was a little lackluster. Just be patient. I really feel like the right answer is that you can buy used today and you can be intrepid. So I don't know if people have other points of view on that.
Well, I see at the bottom of the screen, counterpoint. Was there only one? Be patient. That was the only, it was the only counterpoint.
Oops.
That's correct. There was
Oh,
only
boy.
so this is kind of the opportunity is to help people have a little bit more textured understanding of that concern. Lamppost chargers rule. Cecilia, you've submitted this one. Here's a great picture of a lamppost charger. It's super minimalist, and I think that Jerry and John Pomerley commented on this submission that it's bring your own cable, and it keeps the costs down. Did you want to speak to this?
Yeah, so in Europe, for public charging, level 2 charging, you have your own cable. Cars come with the cable, so you just plug in that cable into a charge point. So this setup, it does use people bring their own cable, but you can just put it into a lamppost. So it takes a lot less equipment, a lot less infrastructure to set up because of the electricity and the stand is like right there. Oh, yeah.
I had a question about this one. Is it easier in Europe because of their the voltage that they might use at a lamppost is a little higher, or is it the same as the US, and could we be doing this?
I mean, I think that that they do use 3-phase there, but we use 2-phase here, and that's good enough for level 2 charging. I think that that they do have higher power AC charging than we do here because it is 3-phase.
Yeah. Zeno, did you have a question or comment on this one?
Yeah, so the city of Sebastopol has a climate action committee, and this is one of their projects to bring this to Sebastopol, that on
Great.
street using the lamppost charging.
That's
So
great.
that is something to keep an eye on here in Sebastopol and report
Yeah.
back to our group. And then also, obviously this addresses the previous slide to make charging accessible to people that don't have control over a private space.
Yeah.
To do that. So this would be another thing that maybe that Sonoma Clean Power workplace charging projects eventually could profit from. So we get some experience with how that works. There seemed to be a parking issue. Do you park there? Can you hog that space? That kind of thing, right? So there's all kind of privacy and private control issues around this this conundrum.
Yeah, it's not perfectly well understood, especially when parking is at a premium in a certain neighborhood. But I suppose if parking was abundant in a certain neighborhood and light poles were also abundant, you might have a good match there. And thank you for pointing out that you need that combination of that affordable used EV and also the street charging in some way to make it all work out well. But David, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I would comment. Zeno, I would really encourage Sebastopol to work hard on this because Santa Rosa, well, first let me say that Santa Rosa, and I think most municipalities have a flat dollar amount that they pay to PG&E for streetlights. So streetlights are not monitored or not metered at this point. And so that's the first obstacle is, okay, you're going to, but our government entities have not done a good job of creating the right infrastructure. When Santa Rosa redid the plaza downtown, they did put in some 110 plugs, but the vendors who were there at Thursday night markets can't run their cooking equipment. It trips the breakers. They didn't put enough power capacity in there, so we've got gasoline powered generators running in the square, when with a little bit of foresight that could be prevented. And I think you're going to run into these same kind of obstacles with the street lighting. I do think they're 110 and they are not metered. So this whole question of this is gonna, what's PG&E going to do as a response, or Sonoma Clean Power? You're going to get into the bureaucracy issues of trying to do streetlight chargers, and it needs to be taken on and get to the other side. I mean, this same kind of thing has happened with charging in general, and but it's more of a can of worms than you would think it would need to be, but it will be a can of worms.
I love the use case of the street vendors who need more power, kind of from an agile software engineering background. I'm like, just get in there, rip it out and do it right. So first UL approved V2G charger. I can't recall if this came in from Jerry or you, Cecilia. We're all pretty excited about vehicle to grid, and I think that Sonoma Clean Power is doing a little bit of vehicle to grid kind of work, and there might be some way to ask someone to present on this. Also, representing Tor, one of his questions was that if we're going to be meeting at Sonoma Clean Power, can we get Brant Arthur to speak with us? And I thought Brant was over at RCPA, but he's moved to Sonoma Clean Power. And so there might be some V2G information that we could get a presentation on going forward. So workplace charging focus. Zeno, you submitted this, that Sonoma Clean Power has published a white paper document and is having a meeting. Maybe this was the BOD meeting from November 3 on workplace charging.
Yeah, so this is a pilot project where they want to bring out workplace charging to maybe 5 locations in Sonoma County using different approaches and getting some data and experience with this. And so the background is both the effort to bring charging to people that don't have control over their own space at home, either because they're renting that space or they're renting a space that is like in an apartment building. But then also the second goal is to increase charging during daytime, because California, getting more and more solar, has an excess of electricity during the daytime. And Gary told me that sometimes they have to sell that outside the state at prices that they're not happy with because there's too much. So the question is, how can we increase the charging during when the sun is shining? And so this was a presentation both at the board of directors in the last meeting and before that at the Citizen Advisory Committee of Sonoma Clean Power. They have that advisory committee, and it's a good thing to kind of look at their agenda every month to see whether they touch on issues that pertain to our club, and that's how I kind of discovered this. So they're going to use, they call it manageable adjustable output. So this is like a grid enabled charging that depends on the output during that time. So you may put your car there and first you don't get anything because there's no excess, or depending on how the software is written. And then you start charging. So it kind of depends. It's not a guaranteed charging. It has a slightly different structure in terms of availability during the time that you're plugged in. Yeah, so apparently there's people charge during the nighttime because there's the fee structure or the cost structure is better during the nighttime. And I kind of have a question on that. Can somebody explain that a bit better? Because if there's a problem of having access during
think
the
I can,
day,
yeah.
why is the price not going down to encourage people to charge? I did hear that there's at an MIT mobility forum yesterday was a presentation about EV issues, and the presenter mentioned that people are working on software that can detect what purpose you're charging for.
Mm.
And so this would be a way to help. So this would be a quite radical change where you deliver power for a certain function rather, and the price may be different by function.
Yeah.
And so that's a kind of a relevant related topic that ties into that.
A couple things on that. One is that in Sonoma County, the geysers don't shut down at night. So we always do have, a certain amount of power, and the utilities in the past have shown a great interest in trying to sell power at off hours at night, because they do have extra power at off hours at night. But, as solar had been implemented over the last 15 years and increasingly, created that duck curve that creates this large excess during the day. This is a phenomenon that I think, has come to fruition over 20 years, but we're still living with legacy time of use rate from PG&E. So as part of the time of use rates from PG&E might be related to the fact that there is available power at night. And part of it is related to the fact that there wasn't such an excess of solar in the past. And so everything just needs to shift. And I think that the time of use rate shift is the very slowest moving portion of this. And also, I think smart people are modeling out how much more we might need in the future. So while things might be rosy right now, we really need to amplify the use of workplace charging as a much larger number of EVs are getting charged.
Yeah, so one other little piece that I mentioned is Sebastopol climate action of the city. And so this group is also working on promoting Annalee High School as a location for this particular program. Yeah, so there's teachers that's work there during the day. And so in Sebastopol, we don't really have like large employers. O'Reilly is not really active anymore. That if you drive by it, you probably see that parking lot is mostly empty.
Yeah.
So we're looking for like what are locations where this program could happen, right? And so Annalee High School was one idea that people are looking into.
Yeah. David, did you have a question?
Yes, yeah. I mean, on the time of use, I don't think the EV rate is lagging in time of use. I mean, it's been disfavorable, but now the EVA2 rate that we are on, the off-peak time is midnight to 3 p.m. I mean, it is most of the time. Then there's an hour or two after 3 p.m. and I think 11 to midnight is the the intermediate rate, and the intermediate rate and the peak rate are very similar. I mean, you're up in the almost 50 cents a kilowatt hour in those times, but the nighttime rate, and it's all edged up to about 20 cents now. It's gotten significantly more expensive. At home charging has, but you have a long period. You've got midnight to 3 p.m., which kind of surprises me. And but this would be for all. PUC would have approved that rate for all of PG&E's service area, and all of PG&E's service area isn't close to the geysers. So
Right.
Right. But that does reflect the fact that during the day there's excess electricity, but midnight to 3 p.m. is when you now on an EVA. I have not compared it to the alternatives, but if you use PG&E's website, it projects that is the lowest rate for us. Our time of use, some other. There's a couple of other time of use rates, but it's all gone to time of use. It used to be time of use at the weekend. The whole weekend was low. Not true anymore. All 7 days are treated the same.
Yeah, I wonder if the EV adoption opportunity around having workplace charging is not more powerful than the shifted charging timeframes. For instance, I think someone in our group, talked about the Sonoma Clean Power phenomenon, where everyone having access to the charging went ahead and got an EV. How many teachers at Annalee might go get an EV if they had, access to charging, et cetera. So it'd be really interesting to see it going forward. So Hertz needs to charge all their EVs, and they've entered an agreement with British Petroleum Pulse, BP Pulse, to build their fast charging at all the Hertz locations. So, this is interesting because BP put a big push 15 years ago to become beyond petroleum, and they invested in solar and some other alternative energy structures, and then they divested all of that and went right back to oil. But I guess they're going to try it one more time and work with Hertz on EV charging. I don't know if someone knows this, but I wouldn't assume that this would be really publicly available. It would just be related to all of the EVs that they're buying, which is great. Hertz is buying a lot of EVs and needs to charge them somehow. Cecilia, do you want to talk about Bloomberg Green electric car ratings?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we shared about this before, but it is a site that allows you to compare the greenness of a car as far as its efficiency and versus its weight and that sort of thing. So you can look at different cars and see how they rank up against one another.
Yeah, I thought that the screenshot was the part that was really interesting to me, that the longer range or performance had a greener rating than the rear wheel drive with the shorter range, because of the equation that they're using, which is range divided by curb weight plus battery size. It was just really interesting to me. I guess a larger battery size means it's a greener car.
I think with the Lucid, it's just like really, really good at coasting. And I think they do it might have like a really good coefficient of drag. If they do something to get that range, and then I'm not sure what else they've done to that would influence that ranking, but yeah.
Really
the thing that's really green with Lucid is the price tag, though. Look at
that. Yeah. As long as you made that 169,000 in a really green way and you didn't have to fly around a lot to make that money, it's a green car, I guess. Yeah, we weren't sure if we covered this redesign story about the Honda Prologue EV. Has anyone seen an update on Honda Prologue yet? This is an article that people can look at around Honda. And this is the one I was wishing we had covered last month, the NBEAA A520. Did you want to speak to it, Cecilia?
Oh, yeah, I think you mentioned having seen it, Sonia. But yeah, it's been a while.
Only online. I had also seen it online, like prior to your posting this image, and I just thought, oh my God, what a great face on that car.
Yeah, so apparently it's in China, and it's it's advertised as being a household woman's scooter, or you can use it for elderly folks to pick up children. I'm not sure how much of that is like translation that comes out that makes it a little awkward in its wording, but it's an interesting marketing language.
Yeah. And you can see that similar to the Arcimoto, it's an enclosed space with a single seat, and presumably one seat behind the other, if you can go pick up kids from school. David,
I'll just add that in the US, the things that had been available, they have not progressed very much, are the three-wheeled bicycle category that have covers on them. And I had tracked down 3 of them, but they don't respond now. I mean, the one that was being made in North Carolina got bought by somebody in Phoenix, and they don't respond to inquiries. The one in San Diego, they stopped making the cover for it. So I'm disappointed that it has not progressed. These would be, $5,000 to $10,000 three-wheeled electric bicycles with a cover on them, which for in-town use, they'd be fantastic. But
do you think of Arcimoto as part of that grouping, or being more of a performance electric motorcycle type thing that's a little more expensive? Do you think of it as kind of another category?
I think it is basically another category, because these others you could ride on a bicycle path. Once you get it's street versus prohibited on the alternative network of human powered what they call active transportation. Electric bicycles and tricycles, electric, those are all permitted on bike path infrastructure, and this type of vehicle would not be.
Yeah, simpler recumbents with covers or something like that. David Heacock, did you have a question? You're on mute. You're on mute, David.
Yeah, did you say Arcimoto or Aptera? Arcimoto is it's got a relatively short range, but it's highway capable. I mean, it's got a 75 to 100 and something mile range. But Aptera, again, is a 3-wheel vehicle, but that's definitely a highway vehicle with the shortest range vehicles, 250 miles. And I don't know what the top speed is, but it's definitely a highway vehicle. It's got a lot more room than most people realize in it. So
yeah, I think David Harris was kind of talking more about things below that, which are more like a neighborhood car, or a bike trail friendly car. And I'm also really curious about that category where you might use it a little bit more if it were rainy or a little chilly or something like that, where you could have a little bit more enclosure or something.
Well, this Chinese car, and a lot of those cars, I think that you see videos and stuff of some of them there in Europe and stuff, and a lot of them have a restriction of 35 to 45 miles an hour, and the range is maybe 50 miles or something. So around town, they're fine, but
Mhm.
not really, high.
Not a highway.
We have a different situation here in this country. I think a lot of people want something to get on the freeway with and even go 10 miles, but they're going to be on a freeway with. They're not going to get on a freeway with this thing.
Right, right. But if there was a bike path into Santa Rosa.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if they'll allow you on a, but that Archimoto does talk about being smaller and being able to run on bike paths and that kind of thing, even for emergency vehicles. I've got one for that. So anyway,
Well, I did get one new cool link from John Parmerly. He offered up a YouTube about the Hyundai EV models that has a lot of detailed tech information. So, if anybody's in the market for a Kona EV or another Hyundai, you might want to check out this link that he supplied. And then we have our usual kind of shopping links, Normal Now, Plugstar, and EV 101, that sort of thing, and Electric for All. So we talked a little bit about our next meeting, December 10 at Sonoma Clean Power. My question is, should we bring donuts? They're going to supply coffee.
gotta have.
Yeah, I would definitely bring. So
All right, Mike's offering to bring donuts.
Yeah, for sure.
I think people are going to be kind of happy about that. So to be clear, I need to go through the formality of letting Sean know that we're interested in waiting for his approval, but I'm assuming that's easy. And I will also ask those questions about parking, etc. And perhaps if it all works out smoothly, I'll just put that information in the week in advance email. And make it simple. David, did you have another question?
Oh, I'm sorry. No.
Okay. So I think this might be our last slide. Yeah. I think we're done 10 minutes early this meeting. We had perhaps fewer participants, a little more streamlined conversation, so that's good.